Hello and welcome to another whiteboard workout where we talk about the sales skills to help you win the game. I'm your host Julian Redding, and once again thank you so much for spending time with me. Now today I'm going to share a number of thoughts with you. Some of the things that I've collated over years, and especially selling through times of change, because currently I'm recording this in February 2021 and we're still in a global pandemic. But ultimately, things change every single year. I think as salespeople, we need to grow and adapt every year to the different market conditions, the different people we're selling to, and keep growing. I talk about being a sales practitioner, constantly evolving what we do. So I want to share some thoughts with you about some of the things that I've done and what I coach and what I do with the people I coach now around selling through times of change. The first thing I would talk about is selling wide. It is so important to sell wide. There's a great Gartner statistic with research that's come out recently that shows if you sell to 5 lines of business, you're 36% more likely to close the deal. That's increasing to a less than 1 in 3 win rate, which I'd take every day of the week, okay? But so many salespeople do what I call is minimum viable effort. And those of you who do software will know minimum viable product. I talk about minimum viable effort. What's the least we can do to close the deal? The top 10%, they sell wide, they sell the value. Now let me talk about what selling wide actually means. Selling wide is collecting all those metrics in discovery to create the business case to link to pain that we then reframe by each line of business. So if we're talking, for example, to a chief technical officer, we're going to talk, if we're selling technology, about how our technology seamlessly fits in with their architecture and what the rollout looks like and the skills that's needed. If we were talking to the chief compliance officer, we might be talking about how our product is GDPR compliant. If we're talking to the marketing director, we might be giving a vision of more that he can do with his customers and customer journey around what we're doing. I'm selling exactly the same thing, but I'm selling wide. I'm selling the value. Because here's an amazing statistic. Nearly 56% of deals stall through no decision or being put off. Over half of your pipeline. Every deal I look into, there's a common theme. It's typically been disagreement between the lines of business. So it's vitally important. And I'm just going to step back, because when I talk about disagreements, usually it's about the people don't see the value in what's trying to be changed. And 9 times out of 10, we haven't even talked to them. So I plan in decision process of MEDDPICC to really get into the detail of how I'm going to sell wide. I look collating all those metrics and linking it to pain, dates, outcomes, and I reframe each part of my unique selling point based on each line of business selling wide. It's so vitally important to do this, because the more I can identify as a buyer with what's in it for me, guess what? The more I'm going to press the green button. If I can't see the value, red button. For me, it's very, very simple, but it takes a lot more work. And this is something that, once again, top 10% do. They plan out how they're going to talk to each line of business and how they're going to reframe. Because ultimately, what they want to do is find the no. Find the person that's not agreeing with them and either neutralize them or sell the value again to them. Now, the more you can line up, the more you're going to win. It's as simple as that, and the statistics absolutely back that up. So if you are just selling to a couple of points of contact, remember, all deals over 250K have a minimum of 8 to 12 people in the decision-making cycle, in the influence cycle. So I would absolutely say to you now, go and look at all your major deals. Have you got 12 touch points in them? If you haven't, make sure you have. And then also during times of change, I focus on rank versus influence, because so many things change in terms of job titles and authorities and everything. I want to understand influence more than I want to understand rank. And I look to understand influence by understanding how the person or the people that I'm connecting with, talking to via line of business, how they work with each other. Who has the most influence? Who's the one that's brought in by the board for recommendations? on the board? Who is driving strategy? Who is the most likely to change? What sort of person are they? An innovator? Are they a visionary? Are they a pragmatist? Are they conservative? Are they laggard? I want to identify all these components to understand how I can influence the influencers. Because in enterprise sales, not all is created equal. Every line of business is different for every customer that you go to. Every line of business has more influence, less influence. You'll probably see it in any companies that you've worked with in the past, where certain areas of the business have more influence than others. And we've got to understand that. We've absolutely got to get to the detail of that. The final thing just in this short video, so I spoke about a couple of areas there to really get you focused on selling wide, looking at rank versus influence. The final thing is more housekeeping, and it's checking the path to funds regularly, and do it via multiple sources. You see, this is the challenge. I mean, I've seen a lot of deals slip recently through not understanding when things are going to be signed, and that is ultimately because, one, we haven't gone wide enough, and we haven't set it as an objective to check what that signing process is, because it can change, and it can change regularly. So I validate it across multiple lines of business. I absolutely start legal, procurement. Never trust the person in the business. I mean, all the businesses I've worked in, I couldn't tell you the PO process. I could guess, but I couldn't tell you. So I start with legal and I start with procurement that are dealing with it all the time. I then connect with finance. And ultimately, this is going to help me understand what that decision path is, because we need to understand and control that by date to ensure that people aren't away or they're not available. This is critical to being successful, because everyone's looking at budget. Everyone's looking at what they're spending. More people are involved. More people are getting involved in the influence of the decision making. So it's really critical to understand not only all of the decision makers, but the people that actually bring that to life with path to funds, that sign the contracts, that raise the purchase orders, that approve. Because ultimately you're going to win more. And that slippage thing will start to disappear. Because I've got the answer to slippage. It's sell wide. The wider you sell, the less the deal slips. It's as simple as that. And in all my years of experience, that's why I'm very confident about saying about that, and hopefully it's not coming across as arrogant. When a deal has slipped, for me, it's we have never sold wide enough, and I can unpick so many deals exactly the same. So some things for you to think about. As always, this is all about you thinking about it, going through, does it fit with me? What can I do? But I'd ask you all just to look at one or two of your major accounts and look at all your touch points across it. Are you selling to all the line of business? Have you reframed your value proposition via line of business to each one? Do I know the path to funds? It's a good checkpoint and a little exercise for you to do. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Julian. As always, really appreciate your time. Take care.